like to end the program with here is a piece of music that I know is familiar to practically everyone. It was used in a lot of television commercials like United Airlines and things like that. And it was one of the most significant pieces, I think, in American music history, and musicology and musicology and all that sort of thing. It was Rhapsody in Blue by Gershwin. And and you have to think back to the 1920s when he wrote this, is that at that time in history there was so much racism. The Ku Klux Klan was around, and I think it's very poignant considering all the racial tension. Finally, real conversations people are having about race. But Gershwin at that time, he lived right on the edge of Harlem. His house was open to people of all colors. He went to live with black families in South Carolina when he was writing Porgy and Bess. He insisted that the cast be made up of black people rather than white people in blackface. He also insisted that wherever it was performed, it had to be a non-segregated and integrated hall, which prevented it from even being performed in South Carolina until 1974. Yeah, so you can see what a pioneer he was. Now, even further back than that, going back to the 1920s, when he wrote Rhapsody in Blue, the music of African Americans wasn't even considered music to be worthy to be studied. It was studied by anthropologists rather than musicologists. But Gershwin, being a classically trained white Jewish, Russian Jewish boy from basically grew up from Brooklyn, went to Manhattan. He was also sheet music. I'm trying to think of the word they used. He was the kid that sat around in the drugstore playing music for people when they wanted to pick it out. And so that's how he actually got his start. So I think it was kind of neat to start out with some of this sheet music that my mom played, because that would have been the kind of thing that Gershwin would have been doing when he started out his career. But anyway, here he writes Rhapsody in Blue, and it changes the whole context of the music world, because now all of a sudden these seriously trained white classical musicians are playing all these things that have been influenced not only from his Russian heritage and his Jewish heritage, because there's little elements of klezmer music and things like that in here, but the jazz and blues and the gospel music and that rich culture that he grew up with and experienced right on the edge of Harlem. And so after that, it changed music history. And so I think Gershwin is one of those people, and you can see when in schools, when they cut arts out of music, or arts out of the curriculum, how devastating that is to society, because something like a piece of music can change how people think, it can change history, it can change a whole lot of things. And so the arts can be seen as a change agent in society, and we really deprive ourselves of that when we don't fund the arts and support our local arts council.
And this is just about the last third of the piece. The whole piece lasts about 15 minutes.
When it was first performed in New York, this was at the end of a 3-hour concert that Paul Whiteman put together to celebrate the African American music of jazz and blues and all this. And everybody was getting tired and walking out because the concert lasted over 3 hours. So, we're getting close to our tonight here too. But anyway, after they heard the opening, the clarinet solo where it goes like that, people sat down again. And then at the end of the piece, when they came to the last crashing chords, they gave him a standing ovation and made him play it a second time. So we won't be doing that tonight. I'm only playing the last parts.